Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my channel and my studio. Today I'm sharing more design tips for card makers. My last video seemed to go over pretty well with you all, and so today's card is going to demonstrate just a few more ways to think about making design choices when you have those new stamps or dies, and I'm going to walk you through my process and give you lots of design tips along the way. Stick around, that video is coming up next. So here's a look at some of the products I'm going to be using today to create a card and talk about some aspects of design. I have this beautiful stamp set. It's called Delicate Flowers from Gina K Designs. There is a stencil that's part of this, and currently this is part of her most recent card kit, but once the next kit comes out, you can buy this separately, and once that's ready, I'll update the links in my description. I also have coordinating dies for all of these pieces, a little bit of Gina's white cardstock, and then I have a few colors here that I'm going to work with for my blooms. But today, I'm also going to include something I recently saw Gina do a lot of, and that is using a black colored pencil. This is just Prismacolor Premier Black, and a little bit of Gamsol or blending solution to add a little depth to my blooms. That's part of the creative process, and then we'll talk about the design as well. So I'm going to get started with stamping my images. All right, I'm going to stamp 2 of these so that I can have 2 images to work with, and I'll just flip my cardstock to get opposing sides. And I'm going to use my black onyx pad here. Just ink this up. And bring it down and press. I'm using my Mini Misty today, and I have a waffle flower grip mat on the inside holding my cardstock in place. I'll go ahead and stamp 1 more image. And this is why, if you're new to card making and you think, what is that tool she's using? Well, this stamp positioner is probably the reason I have a YouTube channel. So we're gonna, jewels, not tools, we're gonna pick this up, flip it. Actually, I mean, this could be a card in and of itself, the shape that I'm doing, but I want to show you the dies and, we're gonna have some fun. But a lot of times when you're starting out with any stamp set and you're not sure what you want to do, you got to start with some images, right? So you're going to pick a few things, stamp 1 or 2. I always stamp more than I need. Well, not most of the time. I will make things and then I will end up using only 1. And that happens a lot because sometimes once you get your greeting and figure out the rest of the design, you realize you don't need more than 1 image. All right, those look great, so let me get set up for ink blending. I just wipe my stamp off with a damp and well-loved stamp chamois. I always like to show the parts in case you are new and you think, how do they clean them? It's just a damp cloth and water. So I'm going to take my stencil here, and I guess I'll start right about here, because this, you can start wherever you like. I am using a sticky mat. This is from Waffle Flower Crafts, the same kind that I have in my Misty tool, but this is 5.5 by 8.5, and it works great for something like this. They have different sizes, and I really am a big fan of the mats because they also hold your stencil. Now, you want to make sure if you're using a layering stencil, oftentimes they'll have etchings, and the etchings will show you that you're in the right side. If you ever have a stencil and you're like, why isn't this lining up? What is happening? Sometimes it's just because you have your stencil flipped upside down. So let me line that up. I don't want to get my head in here too much, but I feel like sometimes the noggin is needed because I have a plan today. Now I'm going to try something a little different for me, which is not just stick with a monochromatic image. I'm going to blend 2 colors together that normally I don't blend. I usually skip, but I mean, it'll make sense. I'm going to use Post-it notes. I went to the Costco and I got a bunch of them. So I have enough, I have enough to sink a battleship. Now, I'm going to use some smaller blending brushes today, and I'm going to use Gina K Designs inks as well. I have ordered a bunch of these brushes from Altenew. they're really nice. They're a nice size. They're really nice for blending. I really like them. Now, and any blending brush will do. I have not used this at all, so I've got to get a little bit of ink coming in here, right? Just so I have enough to blend with. And this color is Dusty Rose. So we're going to tap off a little onto my glass because I don't want to come in too hot and heavy. But what I'm going to do is just bring this pink into the base of the flower. Now, whatever feathers up is fine. I don't mind. I want that look, okay? So we're going to pick some more up. Tap, 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 tap. Come up here and go like this. Now, Gina also has some new little detail brushes. I don't have them, but what's nice is they allow you to get into small spaces without worrying about getting into some of the other openings. Although here, I believe I'm going to have to cover this up too, and that's okay. That's what the extra Post-it notes are for. Okay, and just to keep that the same on each little bloom. Okay. Again, the tap off, just so you don't bring it too hot and heavy, like that. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip. Usually I would work in rainbow order, but this time I'm going to skip what would be next in line after pink/red, which is orange. I'm going to come in with the yellow. Now you can do that. You can skip colors on the rainbow. You just don't want to jump more than 2. Okay, you have a color wheel, and once you start jumping more than 2, things are not going to blend anymore. They're going to get mucky. And I usually go rainbow, but today we're getting this. Is this Wild Dandelion? I believe so. And now, again, blending it off. Tap, 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 tap. I'm even going to tap a little here. I'm going to bring it in really lightly from the top. Because I want to create a flower that looks like that. Isn't that cute? All right, again, cover this, pick that up from the glass, and blend over the tips. This is going to be a really cool color. And actually, I guess it does sort of create that third, where it overlaps, it kind of becomes more of an orange. All right, coming down over here. And those are the blooms, and I just think that is so pretty. All right, so that's my blooms. I can go a little bit more up here if I want with my pink and create this look. Now, I am going to be adding a little more depth to the base of these as well with my pencil, but I think that looks really nice. So let's get this up, and I can save all my Post-its over here to use again. And I'll show you really quickly how I clean these. I keep a very nice little bottle of rubbing alcohol. This is 70% from Target, and I'm gonna give a little spritz here. I use this e-cloth, which has no fibers at all. It's not even microfiber. It's just it's a flat weave, so there's nothing that comes off of it. I guess you'd call it a no fiber. But with the alcohol, everything dries immediately and it cleans your stencil beautifully and it's ready to be used again. Now, because I'm having 2 images, that will come in handy. But right now, I'm going to move on to the buds. So again, we want to make sure that the etching is up and then come back over here and we are going to line this up. It doesn't take too long, does it? No. There we go. Figure out my placement. These are all going to be green. And for this, I'm just going to do jelly bean green. I'm not going to do anything heroic. And that's another thing too. You can keep your color choices so simple on a simple bloom image or a floral image like this. You know, you don't have to try to cash a creative check that your body's not quite ready to write. And well, that's how I approach it. Okay, I'm not using the peach Bellini after all, but I will get my jelly bean green and I'll just do one of these. Load this up. I actually recently re-inked my jelly bean green I use this green a lot. All right, so now we'll just add that green. I'm not too worried about shading and shadowing on these leaves because if I want, I can use the black pencil to do that technique, and I will show you shortly. All right. Stencils just make coloring so quick and easy, and I just think this is a beautiful, beautiful floral. All right, so pick these up. And that is my floral number 1. I'm going to do the exact same thing off camera before we move on to adding a little bit of depth and dimension using the colored pencil. So now I'm going to try this technique that I saw Gina do, and I've got my blending solution. And you want to make sure you work in a well-ventilated area. Sometimes I will just wear a mask when I'm using this so I'm not breathing it in. Even though it's odorless, that's just a good idea. I'm going to keep this off to the side, and I'm going to be using this little tiny blending stump. But first, what I need to do is take my Prismacolor black and put oh my gosh, just the tiniest amount of black at the base of each flower. Now I can do this also on the leaves. It will also give much more dimension, but I have never tried this before, so I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. And I'll do one, and then I'll do the other one off camera. All right, I'll get these guys in just a little. I think this is such a good image to try little techniques like this that I have never tried before because it's so simple and easy to work with. It doesn't require much. And again, this is the littlest bit of black. You can see that, right? Just a little bit at the base. Might have gotten a little much on there, but that's okay. Like that. All right, we'll set this aside, and I'm going to take just a little Gamsol and pour it into my little cute dish. Don't need much. This lasts a really long time. And now all we're going to do, and I guess I'll start on a flower. Going to soak a little in here, right? Get it into the tip. This is what's going to break up the pigment in the pencil. And here goes nothing. I'm going to zoom in just a little more. You can see this. I think this will be good. And you just take that black, just kind of work it up like that. And it just adds a little extra shading and dimension. I'll do my flowers first. Like that. And the nice thing about the tips here in the Gamsol, it kind of lets you control it a little bit better. I think I have better luck with this right now than using a Copic marker. Just kind of, you can kind of do a little circular and kind of push it up. And you can see the difference, right, in the blend and how it looks just a little bit deeper. Come over here. I think I still have enough. I may have put too much black on, but that's okay. Because again, it just creates that little extra bit of dimension. Okay, I'm going to dip a little more here, and I'll work my way on each leaf. Same thing. Kind of blend it out. I put very little on the leaves. Okay. But again, it's going to add that little bit of dimension. Oh, those look really good. And I'm holding my little stump back. I've got a little, I've got a very sore finger, you know. I cut my finger and it hurts to put pressure on it, so I'm avoiding it, if you're wondering. But see how that just gets a little more something, something. And I've been wanting to try this. So we're not even really into the design part of this video, other than, you know, you can try new techniques like this that are so simple, right? This is not requiring a lot of skill on my part. Okay. I may go a little lighter with my pencil on the other image, but we'll see. But I do like that. All right. And again, just that little bit of Gamsol blending that black, which makes it look nice and shaded and very different from the other image. So let me go ahead and do the exact same thing off camera, and then we will cut these out and begin designing our card. So now I've done both. I actually did the second one a little lighter, and you could see the difference there. But I think that's okay. I just wanted to see for myself how that was going to look. And I am going to use the coordinating die. These are pretty easy to line up. I'm going to be using my Impress machine, which is an electronic machine from Anna Griffin. And this is a magnetic mat. And yes, I do cut into my mat because Anna does, and if Anna does, it's good enough for me. Let's see here. Probably looks good. I will run this through. In the manual on this machine, it says not to do this, which is kind of funny because I always do. And I've seen Anna do it, Jennifer McGuire does it, and you know, it's for some pieces, I like using it this way. Now, I'll show you though the other way we're going to cut it. So here's one bloom, but you can also do what they say, well, they actually don't even say this. They say to do it upside down, but I will cut into the mat itself when I want to have a crisper cut or a more detailed cut. And this probably could have used it. I was pretty off there. Oh, Cathy, and that's okay. That's all right. We're going to get it lined up again. And let's see here. As long as I get the stem base, I'm going to put some tape on here, put the magnet on top the plate, and this time I'll flip it and run it blade side up. All right. Actually did a pretty crappy job on that one, but that's okay. Because you know what? We all make mistakes when we're paper crafting, and it's just paper. And now we untape. Oh, come here now. There we go. And I guess we'll just pop you out. That's a really nice clean cut too. Either way, I have two lovely images that I am going to use on my card. All right, I'm going to move on because I have an idea for my greeting. Now this set has beautiful greetings. They are really lovely and elegant, but I wanted to use something a little bigger, and I wanted to use something from my set. This is called Bad Days, Good Vibes, and I want to do, you know, it's either going to be sending a paper hug or it's okay. So here's another thing that I'll do when I'm designing is I'll stamp more than one, because then I have choices, right? And I actually think, let me see here, I actually think I just want to do black ink. And that's another thing too. I do a lot of embossing with gold. I do a lot of different types of, you know, things like embossing. But here's the thing. Sometimes just a simply stamped greeting can be so pretty on a card. So another design tip is, again, dial it back. You do not have to have everything embossed. You can do a really simple greeting. And then if you don't like it, you can step it up from there, right? So I'm going to take off the It's Okay and sending a paper hug. I have not used this stamp yet, but I saw lots of people who got an advanced copy of this. We have a design team at Simon Says Stamp, and so many people used the sending a paper hug, and I really like how that greeting looks, so that's why I wanted to see if I could incorporate this. Now, I've already used this stamp, but this is my first time using this one, so I'll use this little Altenew stamp conditioning eraser. It just removes the coating and makes it really nice for getting your stamp primed. All right, I'm going to use the same ink, the Gina K. Get you inked up there. Ooh, my pad is very juicy because I recently re-inked it, and I hope I don't have too much on there, but we'll see. Bring it down and drop and let that ink transfer. Now, what I like to do is just stamp it a few times rather than squish, because then you're going to get a nice buildup of ink as you tap down every time. Just press your fingers there, and I'll do it one more time. Like that. Just let it transfer. And again, stamping in the same place. Oh, let me tell you, worth its weight in gold. All right, I'll get the coordinating dies so we can cut these out. I've got both dies taped into place. Even with the magnetic mat, oftentimes I will put my low-tack tape on just so they don't slip, because sometimes you pick things up and it slips, but this should be great. And now we will pop out our greetings. And I have 2 greetings ready for my card, and I'm going to get a panel ready so that we can start designing. I'm also going to cut out 2 more of, well, I guess I'll use a little of that right there, and another piece of white so that I can build up and have these have a little more thickness. I'll do that off camera and glue them together before we start arranging how this card might look. Real quick, just to explain what I was going to do. Oh, got a little buildup on the tip. I'll just use my liquid glue. This is Connect Glue from Gina K Designs to glue 2 of the die cut outlines for each one together here, so that has a little more heft to it. And I'm gluing this on a piece of Tim Holtz media grip mat. It comes in a sheet and you can cut it down, and someone actually gave me the tip. They said, Kathy, this is great for gluing on, because if you get glue on, it either peels off or washes off very easily. So I've pulled out a couple pieces of this grip mat, and I have 2 different sizes, and I just bring it out for when it's time to do just this in case anything oozes. And now we have these little friends lined up. So I have 2 choices, and I'm just going to put my glass block on that to let it adhere. So now we can start working on our design and figure out what is the greeting going to look like, what is the design going to look like. So I have a panel that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So this is going to allow for a little bit of margin on my particular design. And here, what I like to start out by doing is just placing a few things, right? We can come here and do this nice little mirror image top to bottom. This is called reflected symmetry. So what you have up top, you reflect on the bottom. And it's not an exact symmetrical thing, but it's about as close as you're going to get. And I actually think that could be really nice for a card like this, because then we can take It's Okay and pop that in the middle. And here's what I'm thinking. I think that this might be the better size greeting because of the size. Let me pull this out really quick and see. Sometimes it's just a size thing, and sometimes it might be just a little too small. And I think what I will do here is I'm going to grab some foam squares to pop this up so you can, maybe we can get a little tuck under of the greenery. So let me grab some foam squares. So here I've got some foam squares. These are the regular foam squares from Simon Says Stamp. They're a little puffier, meaning they're not thin. I don't know if puffy, loft. They have more loft to them. And what I like to do is I often just cut them right on the sheet like that, and then I can use whatever size I need to sort of fill in the space, make sure that everything is going to be supported, you know, especially because if it's going through the mail, you want things to stand up. But see how that casts a nice little shadow? It's okay. And then these little friends are going to frame top and bottom. Now, another thing I like to do is to try to, I call it breaking the plane, where a little bit is going to come off of the card panel and onto the open space around it. It's hard to see right now because we're not working on a full-size panel, so I should get a card ready, and that way you can see. Although this would actually look really pretty on a black note card too. So the question is, do I want to go ahead and stamp the It's Okay to Not Be Okay right underneath? I think that I do. And so let me get my Misty back. Now, of course, you can free range stamp this, and by free range stamp, I mean grab a little block and give it a go. But here's the thing, once I started using this tool, I kind of never looked back. I do stamp with a block occasionally, and I'm really proud of myself when I do. But you know what? There's no shame in the Misty game. I'm telling you, I'm just going to pop that and just stick it right there so I can still see, you know, about where I might want to put these. And the It's Okay is going to go right in the center. And then this little greeting, which is very small, I'm going to stamp it in black ink right underneath like this. And I think it's a little tricky to see, but I'm going to drop it down right there. Now, I can test this out too if I want to make sure it's straight, although that looks pretty straight to me. And let's get a little closer here. So that is centered. If I take those out, oh, I just moved it. Let's take the greener, or let's take these out for now so I don't focus on those. And then you come over here. Very, very sticky. Come on now. All right. Now here's another little trick you can do. Take a piece of scrap acetate, right? Put a little bit of washi on it so that you can see what you're doing. You don't lose your acetate, and we can practice stamp. Now, for the small greetings, I keep my little black onyx cube, and I just want to see how straight this looks. So, drop it. That looks really straight. Okay, we're good to go. We're going to wipe it off the acetate. Put that away for another day, and lightly ink it and just drop it. I don't want to squish this at all, so that's all we get there. We're not going heavy with it because it's such a delicate little greeting. And now the It's Okay to Not Be Okay is going to be right in the center. One of the reasons I like the black for the ink choice on the greeting for this is because of the black in the images, right? You can never go wrong when you tie it together that way. Yes, embossing is pretty. I'm a fan of it myself, but sometimes you just use a little bit of repetition in color. So you have your blacks, and then you have the color of your blooms. Now, speaking of a little fun in color or lack of color, I'm going to do a little tiny bit of spatter on this. Hold tight. I'm going to take the tiniest little bit here of my Post-it so that I can cover up my greeting. Because this is such a delicate baby greeting, I don't want to splatter on it. I want to make sure that that stays like that, no problem, okay? Now, some people are a fan of spatter, some are not. Some people call it splatter, some do not. I don't care what you call it, but I think you should try it if you've never done it, because we have a little cardboard splats box here. It's just a fun way to step up a design, right? And it's not as hard as you think. You can practice too. Like, I have this little tiny brush. It's a number 2, super cheap, Royal and Langnickel Zen round brush. I used to also use a fan brush a lot, but I have since kind of fallen on the love of the little round brush. And you can use whatever you have, your big cube, your little cube. You're just gonna squish a little down on a slick surface. You could do this on your piece of acetate if you don't have the glass like I do. You're gonna take a little water like that, get it wet, get your brush wet, pick it up, and just tap a little onto your card. That's it. Very simple. You can make big blobbies, little blobbies. I kind of like this look where there's just a little bit on here. It's not overkill, right? Just a little extra something. And it dries really quickly because it's dye ink or water-based ink. So let me clean this up and then we'll build the final card. I just wanted to show you now. I can lift this up gently. Come here now. There we go. And that way I knew that my little baby greeting did not get any splatter on it. Okay, moving on. So I think I'm going to put this on a black note card because I think it will be really stunning, really elegant, and I'll have to do a little white insert for writing, but that's okay. And it's really easy to do because I can do one the exact same size in a lighter weight cardstock. So we'll go here and we're going to score this right at 5.5. Now you could do a book fold as well, where you take half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 and go that way. I'm just doing the top fold because this is the cardstock that I had available, and this is Simon Says Stamp Black cardstock. Fold that down, and I'm going to give this a press with my Teflon bone folder, which I like because it does not leave any sheen on dark cardstock. Okay. All right, I'm going to tape this closed just so it stays nice and flat, and press. Now let me add a little bit of thinner foam tape to the back of this panel just for a little dimension. I'll get you guys out of the way, and this is the, let's see here, Simon Says Stamp Big Mama roll, but this is a thinner loft, which I like using sometimes. It depends on what's going on the front of my card, and because I have something already popped up with regular foam tape, sometimes I like to balance out by having a panel lifted a little but not too much, and that's another design choice as well. I think there's something really fun about popping up panels on cards because it just adds to the overall, I don't know, substantialness of the handmade card, right? It has some dimension, and people, well, they love dimension. And pop you there. 3 should be plenty. And now we'll just make sure that we put it on the right way, and we'll take the backers off. And I like to stand up when I'm putting panels on a card. I don't know if that's a design tip, but it's really hard for me to see all 4 corners unless I have a bird's eye view, like the little gnat that's flying around. Go away, little friend. Okay. Yep, there you are. All right, we're coming down. We're looking at all sides. You can see the top of my fuzzy head. And we are going to commit. Oh, it's coming together. Okay, so now I can go ahead and place my greeting next. And I actually used another piece of extra cardstock on the back that I had stamped a sample run on. And here, I like to use a little liquid glue in the center of each foam square because it gives me a little tiny bit of float time. Foam squares stick like a mother, and they're really hard to get up once you get them down. And so what we're going to do here is just look, line that up, and drop it down like that. All right. And now we bring in our little florals, and we can come in a little bit, and I'll just have to figure out the end placement because I want these to break into this margin, but I don't really want it to go much further off. So we're going to frame it out, and we're going to glue this down with some liquid glue. But see how nicely that frames the greeting from top to bottom, and you get this sort of symmetrical look. All right, come down here. But again, I want to make sure this will still fit in the envelope. So what we're going to do here is just a little liquid glue on the backs, just little daubies, because this is plenty to hold it in place. You don't have to over glue this, and come all the way down. And even if it doesn't like stick at every single angle, I think that's really pretty and kind of fun to have it be a little loose in places. So again, we're going to come in here, and we're going to come up. I want that to be right like that, and drop down. And I'm going to hold that for just a second while it adheres. You have to give your liquid glue just a second, right? It takes a minute. And now we will do the same here. So you can see, even though I did not cut that one perfectly, you're not really going to notice it because of the white background of my note card and the fact that it's like, it's just, it maybe looks a little more whimsical. Then we just have to mirror this to the best of our ability, bringing it in tilting it and making sure that this is still going to fit inside a card with this on the edge like that. And press. So that is the general design, and now I want to bring in just a little embellishment to kind of brighten it up and connect with these warm tones in the flowers. So I'm going to use these little beads from This Calls for Confetti, and I'm going to open this up, dump some in here in my little bowl, and I have to tell you, this is a new little bowl that I just got from my dear friend Cathy, who is my Slovenian friend, and she made this, and she was showing me some of her pottery, and I'm like, that would be perfect for my boops. And I don't think at first it registered, but she gave this to me, and I told her, Cathy, you're going to change the way I position my sequins, but it's just perfect for a little boop bowl. All right. Okay, so we're going to put 3 here. And I love this particular set because it has these really tiny ones, and I love the really tiny ones. And I'm getting a little low on the little tiny ones, in fact, but that's okay. We've got 4 different sizes here, and then up here, I will do 2 more for a nice odd number. Let's see, flip you over. You got a 50-50 chance, Kath, of making it flip over. There we go. All right, so we're going to bring this down. Now, odd numbers are just great. They just work so well. And one thing I want you to see here too is this does have a flow and a connection to the center. I don't often put my sequins around the edges, or I kind of make sure that wherever they're going to go, there is some kind of predictable pattern where you could draw little lines and it would connect right through the focal point area of the card. So let's glue these down with our traditional boop. Little bead and boop. But you can kind of see how just that little bit of spatter kind of adds a little artsy fartsiness. You know what I'm saying? Boop. I never felt artsy as a scrapbooker, but let me tell you, the card maker, I feel pretty fancy right now. But that's also the power of stencils to allow you to add color to projects. You know, it's pretty cool because I don't want to color with pens, but let me tell you, when it comes to stencils and ink blending, I'm all in. So that is our finished card for today. So what we have here is we're very heavy on repetition, right? We have 2 of the same image stamped and colored almost identically the same. I just did a little bit lighter on these with the black pencil, which I tried out today, and I do think that's a really fun technique. So thank you, Gina K, for inspiring me to try that. Of course, we have a lot of repetition of black. We have the black ink, stamped in black ink. We have a black note card, right? So everything gets tied in, and the black frame really makes the black ink elements pop. We also have a little repetition with the black spatter, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sequins to just finish it out. Well, they're beads, they're not sequins. But this is just a process of, you know, picking an image or 2, using them in a reflected symmetrical layout where they're on opposing corners, finding a greeting that size-wise is going to work. And again, one of the greetings from the stamp set would have been beautiful too, but you can do this basic design with any stamped greeting you have and any florals on opposing corners. So I hope this gave you a little confidence as you go digging through your stamps and finding some images to play with and trying to create your own design today. You can find links to all of the products I used in my card video in the YouTube description box. I'll also have a blog post with the supplies and some more photos and information for you. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I'd love to have you, so please hit that subscribe button and be sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss the next time I post. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.